Hello and welcome along to 2019, a year in review with Racing TV. Let's wind the clocks back and see how the year began. As we ushered in a new year, tradition for many each January the 1st is to head to Cheltenham, where on a competitive race day, perhaps the pick of the action was the race known as the Dipper, a Grade 2 for novice chasers. This year, despite a small field, Lost in Translation got the better of Defi de Soy in a thriller.
Defi de Soy, two in front of Lost in Translation, who's not yet beaten. Defi de Soy, Lost in Translation, coming back in the closing stages. Lost in Translation has gamely regained the lead in the final 75 yards and wins going away.
The high-class pair were to meet again on a further 2 occasions during the rest of the season, but if Lost in Translation won the battle on New Year's Day, Defi de Soy would go on to win the war. Over in Ireland on New Year's Day, the listed Savills Chase turned into a Willie Mullins benefit, with the multiple champion trainer saddling the first 3 home in the race, stablemates Total Recall and Invitation Only unable to get near Album Photo, the 7-year-old making his seasonal comeback in what turned out to be a springboard to the summit of steeplechasing. More on that a little bit later.
Album Photo out in front. Total Recall unable to get on terms, and they're clear of Invitation Only at the last in the Savills Chase, and Album Photo is over safely and out in front is going to lead home Stable Companion Total Recall. Album Photo wins well from Total Recall second. Invitation Only completes a 1-2-3 for Willie Mullins.
Sandown staged the first British Grade 1 race of the year, the Tolworth Hurdle, and for trainer Colin Tizard's Dorset-based team, it was a second win in the race in the last 2 years, as Elixir de Nuts held off the Paul Nicholls trained pair of Grand Sancy and Southfield Stone.
Grand Sancy now lays down the big challenge, approaching the last. Elixir de Nuts is joined by Grand Sancy, then Southfield Stone. Elixir de Nuts is still finding, goes a length ahead. Grand Sancy coming back on the near side in a bitter duel up towards the line. Elixir de Nuts so quick over the hurdles and holds on gamely to win the Tolworth.
The year was well and truly underway. Kempton Park's Lanzarote Hurdle, a race named in honour of one of the great hurdlers of the 1970s, proved a big occasion for John Joe O'Neill Jr., son of the legendary jockey and trainer of the same name. He guided home 16-to-1 shot Big Time Dancer to victory, a first big Saturday winner for the hugely promising rider.
Still wide open, a furlong and a half to go. Big Time Dancer strikes, goes for home. Solomon Gray, Lord Napier on the far side. The final flight in the Lanzarote. Big Time Dancer has the lead, goes on now by 2 lengths. In second is Solomon Gray, and they race up towards the line. It is John Joe O'Neill Jr. and Big Time Dancer, and they hit the big time today.
Big day for you. How long is that £5 claim going to last?
I have 10 more still on my £5, so that's my 30th winner. So it's a big day, it's my biggest winner, so it's a great day.
On a Thursday late in January, all eyes turned to Goran Park over in Ireland. With the Cheltenham Festival but a few weeks away, Gold Cup market leader Presenting Percy made his long-awaited return to racing with a spin over the smaller obstacles in the Galmoy Hurdle. The 8-year-old, ridden by Davy Russell and trained with real distinction by Pat Kelly, hadn't been seen since winning at Cheltenham 10 months prior, but made no mistake in dispatching his 10 rivals. The Gold Cup beckoned.
Presenting Percy in between horses, hits the front from Kilalta Vic. Just behind them is Limini with Bapom and Darasso as they race for the final flight in the John Mulhern Galmoy Hurdle. It's Presenting Percy on the near side and Davy Russell. Pat Kelly, Stable Star will lead at the final flight from Kilalta Vic. Limini, Bapom in between horses. Presenting Percy's not home yet. Bapom, Kilalta Vic, but Presenting Percy will win his second John Mulhern Galmoy Hurdle en route to another Cheltenham.
Just 48 hours later, Cheltenham Festival fever went up a gear. The 26th of January was Trials Day in the Cotswolds, with connections of high-profile horses looking to book their slot at the great meeting which, by that point, was but 6 weeks away. Unquestionably the most dramatic race on the day was the Grade 2 Novices Hurdle. Approaching the last hurdle, Birchdale and Brewing Up a Storm were in the process of serving up a finish to savour, before the latter came down. Thankfully, both horse and rider were up okay afterwards. Who would have won the race? We'll never know.
Brewing Up a Storm just leading, Birchdale on the right challenging, and down at the last, Brewing Up a Storm. He's left Birchdale clear. The other trio are in line as they head up the hill now, and it is Birchdale left clear in the closing stages. Moving into second position is Jarvis Place. Both Brewing Up a Storm and Richard Johnson are okay. Birchdale, though, left clear at the last, is a very wide margin winner.
35 minutes later, a real star was emerging in the staying hurdle division. Paisley Park had already given trainer Emma Lavelle and jockey Aidan Coleman their first Grade 1 win apiece at Ascot before Christmas. But at Cheltenham, Paisley Park was simply on another level to the opposition, and you'd be hard-pushed to find a more enthusiastic owner than Andrew Gemmell, a man registered blind since birth, whose affection for his beloved Paisley Park is contagious. For that team, all roads led to March.
Paisley Park zooming clear of all of them. Got over the last safely. Ears pricked. He's 4 or 5 lengths clear and he's going comfortably inside the last furlong. Westerbroach is second. Black Hop is third. Sam Spinner behind this in fourth. But Paisley Park, he's 8-10 lengths clear with Aidan Coleman. This is impressive. Paisley Park for Emma Lavelle, 4 from 4 this season in great style.
Into February, and it was a case of quality all the way through the Leopardstown card on Saturday the 2nd, as blue skies greeted day 1 of the Dublin Racing Festival, an afternoon when trainer Gordon Elliott sent out a galaxy of stars to wow the paying public. Commander of Fleet and Envoy Len were both victorious, but the afternoon will be remembered for the magnificent Apples Jade, whose 16-length demolition of Grade 1 opposition was truly spectacular. The Queen of Irish Jumps Racing landing the 10th top-level win of her distinguished career.
Apples Jade comes away from the final flight, opening up a 3-length advantage over Super Sunday. Then Petit Mouchoir coming under pressure and making little gains as Mellon, but they've a long run in. A 2.5 furlong run in, and it is Apples Jade starting to kick away from Super Sunday. In third place is Petit Mouchoir, then Mellon and Farclab, but Apples Jade is in glorious isolation, racing towards the final furlong in the BHP Insurance Irish Champion Hurdle, and it's been Apples Jade all the journey, and is simply in a class of her own this season, is going to win the Irish Champion Hurdle, and the first mare in 16 years to do so. Apples Jade, a wowing performance.
But there was Grade 1 racing that afternoon at Sandown as well. The Scilly Isles Novices Chase offered Lost in Translation a chance to confirm New Year's Day form with Defi de Soy, but this time Defi was having none of it.
Coming down towards the 17th and last, Lost in Translation, joined by Defi de Soy on the landing side. Lost in Translation and Defi de Soy. Vindication back in third. It's Defi de Soy now under Geraghty. Lost in Translation is coming back at him. Defi de Soy from Lost in Translation. Defi de Soy has won the Scilly Isles.
Back to Ireland though, and day 2 of the Dublin Racing Festival, where Willie Mullins fired a warning shot to those standing in opposition at Cheltenham a few weeks later. Classical Dream got the better of stablemate Aramon in a pulsating finish to the Grade 1 Novice Hurdle. And although the prevailing quick ground resulted in a small field for the Irish Gold Cup, with a number of trainers not risking their stars on the surface, the Mullins-trained Bells Hill was brave to deny Road to Respect in a thriller. Honourable mentions on the day go to connections of Le Bagourois, the British challenger who jumped for fun in the Flogus Novice Chase, and Sir Eric, fast developing into a young hurdler of immeasurable talent. Then, when all seemed well and the racing world was building up to the 4-day crescendo of the Cheltenham Festival, an outbreak of equine flu forced British racing into a 6-day shutdown. Super Saturday, as it was dubbed at Newbury, was lost, and key races, significant trials and final stops for Cheltenham-bound horses were rescheduled to other venues. But racing in Ireland was unaffected. The talented pair of Duke de Ginevra and Monolly booked their tickets to Cheltenham, with victory each at Gorham Park. Unfortunately, post-flu, with racing back in full flow in Britain, we saw a potential star of the future at Kempton, when FUSIL Raffles flew home to mark himself a leading juvenile hurdler.
FUSIL Raffles shaken up now by Jacob and picks up well to go on from Praceps at the last. FUSIL Raffles over clear and begins to draw right away. Oh, this is very good. It is FUSIL Raffles, draws 10 lengths clear in the blink of an eye, and he's going to canter home in the Adonis. Surely a Triumph Hurdle contender of the highest order. FUSIL Raffles canters home.
And then it was March. The anticipation, the previews, the long-range forecasts, the anti-post bets chalked up by the hopers and the dreamers. The time for talking was over, and the Cheltenham Festival of 2019 was upon us. 4 days of the finest racing, the finest sporting action, and as is tradition, the roar of the crowd greeted the runners at the start of the first race of the meeting, the Supreme Novices Hurdle, at 1:30 p.m. on the Tuesday.
And they're off.
And if for many in attendance, participating with the roar of the crowd created a sense of nostalgia and also deja vu, so too did the finish of the race. Classical Dream providing Willie Mullins and jockey Ruby Walsh with their 4th win in the race since 2013. Walsh, the leading rider in the history of the Cheltenham Festival, was clocking his 59th win at the meeting. And although we didn't know it then, that would prove to be his last.
The final flight in the Supreme, and it's Classical Dream who's out and clear by 5 lengths. It will be an Irish winner in the Supreme. Another win in the race for Willie Mullins and for Ruby Walsh. It's Classical Dream who wins the Supreme.
The feature race on the first day of the festival was the Champion Hurdle. The race had been under real scrutiny in the days and weeks before the meeting, given the clash of the brilliant Irish mares Apples Jade and Lorena, and their coming together with reigning champion Bouvardere, the JP McManus-owned 8-year-old who was bidding for a hat-trick of wins in the hurdling showpiece. Early alarm though, champion Bouvardere, normally a swift and precise jumper, got no further than the 3rd flight, coming down to add real drama early in the piece. Meanwhile, from some way out, it was clear that Apples Jade was running below her brilliant best, and Lorena, in the words of her rider Ruby Walsh, was never happy in the run. Instead, a new star emerged, with the 5-year-old Espoir de Laine cruising through the race to record a wide margin success and give jockey Mark Walsh and trainer Gavin Cromwell a momentous day.
Espoir de Laine and Mark Walsh have sauntered into the lead in the Unibet Champion Hurdle. Now he says go, and he's on by 3 lengths. Second position for Mellon, and then with Mellon is Lorena, still staying on his silver streak, but Espoir de Laine heads down towards the last flight now with a 5 or 6 length advantage. Espoir de Laine got over it safely and is clear. Mellon, silver streak, Lorena are doing battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th positions, but as they race up towards the line, it is Espoir de Laine and the colours of JP McManus for Mark Walsh, who are the Unibet Champion Hurdle winners.
With the first day done and dusted, the excitement turned to Wednesday. Top of the Game led home a very classy trio when defeating Santini and Delta Work in the RSA Novices Chase. But if Nico de Boinville, who was aboard Santini in 2nd, was frustrated at defeat, he didn't have to wait too long for his time to shine. His ride on 28-to-1 outsider William Henry was the stuff of real determination in winning the ever-competitive Coral Cup. And it was a ride which later in the year was judged the greatest of the season at the prestigious McCoy's Awards.
They come to the 2nd last flight of hurdles. Night in Dubai was just the leader. Brio Conti, the grey, Harry Cobden moving into it very strongly. Baliandi, Canadier behind those. Cracking Smart, Blurberry. Look at Wicklow, brave. He's come from the back of the field, the old fella on the left. He's coming into it strongly. Little Rockefeller, Apple Shakira behind this. Wicklow, brave, a festival favourite, comes towards the final flight of hurdles now to take it up. Good old fella, Wicklow, brave, over to Baliandi. Between the pair, Brio Conti, Canadier with a noseband, William Henry coming from the back of the field, but it's Wicklow Brave in front, clinging on with Patrick Mullins. Here comes William Henry to join him. It's very tight, Wicklow Brave and William Henry.
And a race later, it was de Boinville once again, when all eyes turned to the centrepiece of the afternoon, the Queen Mother Champion Chase. A race for the finest 2-mile steeplechasers anywhere around. Nico de Boinville reacquainted himself with his mount for the race. Altior, a superstar whose unbeaten record stretched back almost 4 years at that very point, was looking for a 4th successive win at the Cheltenham Festival and a 2nd win in the Queen Mother Champion Chase. But he had to battle and battle hard under de Boinville to maintain his magnificent record.
The 2nd last, Altior has a real race on his hands, and on the inside, So Royal and Daryl Jacob have come and eyeball the champion. Here's the final fence in the champion chase, and it was So Royal who jumped the lead. Altior is digging, Politologi's coming on the outside. They've got a half furlong to go. Altior just doesn't want to let his championship go, and he's galvanised by de Boinville, and Altior is going to win another champion chase.
And if National Hunt fans enjoy the sense of the familiar in seeing stars like Altior turn out year after year, they had another to enjoy in the cross-country chase, a quite unique race competed for over a vast array of different obstacles in the centre of Cheltenham Racecourse. The hot favourite was Tiger Roll. He, like Altior, a three-time winner at the Cheltenham Festival, but for good measure, the winner of the Grand National the previous year. And on that March afternoon, he was in a league of his own and came home in splendid isolation to tee up a defence of his Grand National crown at Aintree.
Look how far clear he is. Tiger Roll is into the home straight with one to jump in the Glenfarclas chase, bidding for a fourth victory at the festival, and he is cantering. Tiger Roll heads towards the last. He's made this 20 lengths now. Final fence, steadies. Celebrate a victory for one of the Cheltenham Festival immortals. A fourth victory for Tiger Roll, and he's absolutely romped up. What a horse. Tiger Roll, one of the festival greats, who wins in great style.
With the Cheltenham Festival reaching the halfway stage, the performances we saw on the Wednesday were likely to take something special to match. But a day later, the Thursday, for the stories both equine and human, took proceedings to a whole new level. The magnificent pairing of Bryony Frost and her plucky ally Frodon raised the roof when landing the Grade 1 Ryanair chase. For the horse, the win marked a fifth success around Cheltenham, but this his biggest of all, and for the rider, who had been taken to the hearts of the racing world with displays of bravery and brilliance on horseback, as well as openness, enthusiasm and an infectious personality when dealing with the public and the media. If that was special, so too was the performance of Paisley Park in the Stayers Hurdle, the championship event for 3-mile hurdlers. His campaign to date had been that of a rising star, unbeaten and seemingly with the sky his limit. He might have fluffed the last hurdle, but had plenty in hand at the line to provide connections with a truly momentous occasion.
Paisley Park has taken 6th position. They level for the last flight. Still Sam Spinner in front, and he's moved on again by a length and a half. Forheen is next. Here comes Paisley Park on the left. The spotted cap, he's into 4th. He may be 3rd in a moment. Sam Spinner is next, and Paisley Park is really getting going now. He moves down towards the last flight. He's taken it up. Aidan Coleman produces Paisley Park to lead at the final flight of hurdles to Sam Spinner. Paisley Park, that wasn't clever. He only landed by a neck. He's given Sam Spinner another chance. Bapome is running on. Now again he gets going. Paisley Park has moved on by 2 lengths with Aidan Coleman. He's won all his races this season. Now he's won the Sun Racing Stayers Hurdle.
But if at the end of that Thursday afternoon the result of the Mares Novices Hurdle was unpredictable, with the first 3 starting prices 50 to 1, 66 to 1 and 40 to 1, so too was the interview with the winning rider. Noel Feely, a mainstay in the weighing room, both quality in the saddle and enduringly dependable, announced in a tearful statement that he would be retiring from his riding career.
I'm probably getting a bit old for this job, so yeah, I think that'll be it now, I think.
Is that because of the health setbacks that you've been...
No, just, look, I'm not getting any younger and it's a young man's game.
Oh no, you're going to make me cry. You really... When did you come to this decision?
I've probably been thinking about it for a couple of weeks, and I probably wasn't well for a while, and just, you know, as I saw it's time to let everyone else get on, the young lads get on with it.
Cheltenham was delivering in spades, but the greatest race of the meeting was still to come. The final day of the festival was Gold Cup Day, the blue riband of steeplechasing, and one of the most coveted prizes in sport. A field of 16 went to post for the great race, a quarter of which trained by Irish champion trainer Willie Mullins. He was in search of a prize which, quite remarkably, had eluded him, and yet that was despite sending out the runner-up in the Cheltenham Gold Cup on no fewer than 6 occasions. And he might well have feared that this was not to be his year once again when one of his quartet, the fancied Kemboy, unseated his rider at the first fence. Yet this time there was no silver medal for Mullins, as 12 to 1 chance Al Boom Photo, ridden by an ecstatic Paul Townend, crossed the line clear of Annabelle Fly. Racing welcomed a new champion.
Album Photo comes there strongly. Here's Bristol de Mai having a going day out wide from Annabelle Fly, an elegant escape, and then presenting Percy as Might Bite drops away. This is the second last. Album Photo comes through to take it up. Album Photo reaches for it. He was untidy from Clan des Obeaux, the Grey Bristol de Mai, then Native River and Annabelle Fly approaching the last. Paul Townend on Album Photo, and he's safely over and drawing away 4 or 5 lengths to Bristol de Mai, then Annabelle Fly, Native River and Clan des Obeaux, and stretching out up the hill it's Album Photo. Annabelle Fly is staying on well, but no photo required. Album Photo wins the Magna's Cheltenham Gold Cup.
And as the sun set in the Cotswolds, for jump racing fans, Cheltenham was over for another year, and the 361-day countdown to the festival 2020 had just begun. But for Noel Feely, the jockey who announced that his riding retirement was imminent during the festival, his role in 2020 would of course be a different one. His final day in the saddle came on the 23rd of March at Newbury, where, after being given a guard of honour by his fellow jockeys, bowed out with a winner when the very well fancied Get in the Queue gave the ever-reliable Feely a fitting finale.
The man they call the ultimate professional, Noel Feely, final ride. It'll be as ever, no mistakes, a great victory for him. A happy retirement. Noel Feely, Get in the Queue has won.
Jump racing fans still had the Grand National to look forward to, but as spring approached, attentions were beginning to switch to the flat. And across the globe at Meydan, the magnificent racecourse in Dubai, stars from all corners of the globe congregated to do battle for some of racing's richest prizes. There was victory for British horses, and American raiders stamped their authority, while Almond Eye, the darling of Japanese racing, showcased her brilliance in the Dubai turf. But under the lights, the most prestigious race of the night was the Dubai World Cup, a contest first staged in 1996, but hitherto a prize yet to be won by the same horse twice. That all changed when Thunder Snow, the 2018 champion, successfully defended his crown after a huge tussle up the straight with American raider Gronkowski. The winner, trained by UK-based Said bin Saror and owned by Sheikh Mohammed's Dubai-based Godolphin operation, was as popular a winner as you would see on the star-studded evening. But as April rolled around, the first weekend was all about Aintree, the 3-day meeting staged on the outskirts of Liverpool, which would culminate with the most famous race of them all, the Grand National. But with the first day of the meeting opening up on deep and testing ground, some of the horses who had already been to Cheltenham a few weeks earlier were to find the conditions exacting enough, but Kemboy didn't. The horse who unseated his rider at the first fence in the Gold Cup arrived a fresh enough horse and stamped his class over Liverpool in the hands of Ruby Walsh to take the Grade 1 feature chase on the day for Willie Mullins.
Kemboy has matters in well in hand, and look at him go as he gets right away on the run towards the line. This is impressive for Kemboy, who wins the Betway Bowl Chase.
A day later, and it was the same jockey and trainer who wowed Aintree again, with Min, a simply brilliant winner of the Grade 1 Melling Chase. But then it was all about the Grand National. 30 huge and challenging fences, 4 1/4 miles, and a full field of 40 runners to negotiate the iconic test. And as much as any horse winning the Grand National is special enough, a dual winner, a back-to-back winner, would be monumental. Tiger Roll, successful by a very narrow margin in 2018, came to the defence of his crown £9 higher in the handicap, but remarkably considered still £8 ahead of the handicapper after his exploits at Cheltenham the previous month. The stage was set, the narrative being that the pint-sized Tiger Roll was bidding to become the first dual winner of the Grand National since Red Rum back in the 1970s. Sent off 4-1 favourite, supporters of Tiger Roll barely had a moment of real concern after he was guided around the famous course in the hands of the brilliant Davy Russell, who was also aboard when the pair were victorious a year before.
Tiger Roll in second position. Can he emulate the great Red Rum? He's in second place. Rathvinden is in third at this stage. Regal Encore, Walk in the Mill, trying to stick in there. Live, Love, Laugh to the outside. Annabelle Fly looking to plug on. One for Arthur. The Black Jacket is starting to make ground from the rear as they get to the second last in the Randox Health Grand National. Magic of Light and Tiger Roll is poised on her girth. Rathvinden is in third place. It is in fourth position then Walk in the mill as Tiger Roll out jumps Magic of Light at the last. Rathvinden is in third place, and it is Tiger Roll who now takes the advantage, coming to the elbow from in second position. Magic of Light, Rathvinden, one for Arthur, staying on into fourth. It's been 45 years, and now Davy Russell shakes up Tiger Roll. Magic of Light in second, Rathvinden in third. Walk in the Mill is back in fourth. Tiger Roll is remarkable. He comes up towards the winning line under Davy Russell to win his second round Ox Health Grand National. Tiger Roll joins the greats.
After the race, the rider was quoted as saying of Tiger Roll, "He's a little devil. He doesn't get high at his fences, but he gets away with it." And understandably, after the adulation and adoration of a true champion, the question swirled around Aintree as to whether Tiger Roll would come back again in 2020, looking to match Red Rum's magnificent feat of winning 3 Grand Nationals, but to do something unique by winning the race 3 years in a row. Spring was in full swing. A week after Tiger Roll's success in the Grand National, 25-to-1 shot Taking Risks won the Scottish equivalent at Ayr Racecourse for trainer Nicky Richards and jockey Sean Quinlan. But on the last Saturday of April at Sandown Park, the curtain fell officially on the British jumping calendar. The magnificent Altior made it 19 wins on the bounce when landing the Grade 1 Celebration Chase. Trainer Paul Nicholls celebrated winning his 11th Trainers' Championship, his first since 2016, by landing a double on the card, and the hugely valuable Bet365 Gold Cup went the way of Talk Is Cheap, a horse trained by Alan King, the winner, ridden in fine style by Wayne Hutchinson in what turned out to be the final big race success of his long career, with the rider calling time on his near 2 decades in the saddle later that autumn. But while jumping was done and dusted in the UK for the season, over in Ireland it was a totally different story. We welcomed the 5-day Punchestown Festival, a true celebration of jump racing in the Emerald Isle, and a meeting which burst into life on Tuesday, April the 30th. The pick of the day, the remarkable Underso, who at the ripe old age of 11 won the 2-mile champion chase. It was the 10th Grade 1 win of his magnificent career. Underso, unquestionably a horse who has been characterised by pure aggression and tenacity. He's worn well despite his years and embodies the reason why people love their jump racing. You pick a hero and all being well, year upon year, they come back for more. Talking of enduring heroes, but more of the human variety, the name Ruby Walsh has been synonymous with national hunt racing for 2 decades. All seemed normal when he lined up aboard favourite Kenboy in the Punchestown Gold Cup. Ruby riding a favourite in a big race was no rarity, but few, if any, could predict what would follow. After a typically brilliant ride to land the biggest prize of the day, Ruby Walsh immediately called time on arguably the most glittering riding career of the modern era. The 12-time Irish champion jump jockey, the leading man in the history of the Cheltenham Festival, announced his retirement with immediate effect.
That's it, I'm not going out in the next one, I'm finished. Go out in the winter, that's what I said I'd always do, and that's what I've done. You'll never again see me on a horse, I'm finished. I was very lucky to ride for, to me, 2 of the greatest trainers in Willie and Paul, and to ride a lot of the best horses of my generation. You know, and that's, any jockey is only as good as the horses they're riding. And I rode superstars, absolute superstars, from the Imperial Call here 20 years ago to Zerti Up, Caro, Denman, Big Bucks, Masterminded, you know, Fat Tour, Annie Power, Faheen, Hurricane Fly, you name them, Kev. I rode them all, and you know, even Kenboy now. I mean, I was just so lucky to come across a golden bunch of horses.
And while the crowd at Punchestown was understandably awash with emotion, the scenes thereafter were those of a celebration of a truly special career. Later at the meeting, British raiders Bouvedere and Reserve Tank scooped Grade 1 prizes, but Punchestown 2019 will be remembered for the end of a quite glorious era in the saddle. And with that, we said goodbye to the jump season, until early autumn at least. Early in May, and over at Newmarket, the racing town known as Horse Racing's HQ, the first classics of the season were upon us. The 2,000 guineas for the 3-year-old colts on the Saturday, and a day later, the 1,000 guineas, the fillies equivalent. In the 2,000, 19 went down to post for the straight mile feature, an historic fixture in the racing landscape dating back to the early 19th century. The favourite was 10 Sovereigns, a speedily bred horse who was unbeaten as a 2-year-old and trained by the irrepressible Aidan O'Brien. The Irish handler has sent out 9 winners of the 2,000 guineas over the past 2 decades. 10 Sovereigns was looking to stretch out his stamina. But while on the day we learnt that his future would lay over trips shorter than the mile and the Guineas, his stablemate MAGNA GRECIA made no mistake, powering down the stand side of the course for victory.
10 Sovereigns now, driven along by Ryan Moore and takes over down the centre. Meanwhile on the stand side, MAGNA GRECIA gets past Shine So Bright and chased by King of Change. They race inside the final furlong. It looks like MAGNA GRECIA on the stand side, 10 Sovereigns on the far side. The two stable companions chased by Scardu far side. MAGNA GRECIA this side. MAGNA GRECIA's out in front. It's a 10th 2,000 guineas for Aidan O'Brien, Donnacha O'Brien on MAGNA GRECIA from King of Change.
But no time to stand and bask in glory, because a day later Aidan O'Brien was at it again, his filly Hermosa landing the 1,000 guineas.
A wide open race as they head down inside the final 2.5 furlongs. Hermosa far side, Angel's Hideaway, Fairyland and Iridessa. Kabbalah makes ground on the far side. Lady Kaya this side is doing best as they now run inside the final furlong. Hermosa, Fairyland, Kabbalah putting in a run. Then Angel's Hideaway. Lady Kaya still doing very well on this near side. It's Hermosa that's just led all the way from Kabbalah in second, and Lady Kaya, and Hermosa sees it out well to win.
For the powerful Irish battalions at Ballydoyle in Tipperary, it was business as usual. But when the Irish equivalents of the 2,000 and 1,000 guineas rolled around later in May, it wasn't quite the same result. MAGNA GRECIA was defeated in search of victory at the Curragh 3 weeks after his Newmarket heroics. The winner of the race was Phoenix of Spain, a striking grey ridden with precision by Jamie Spencer to make all of the running and hold off fellow British challenger Too Darn Hot. But while MAGNA GRECIA was defeated, fellow Newmarket winner Hermosa made no mistake. She was all class in winning the Irish 1,000 guineas in the hands of Ryan Moore. You can't keep Aidan O'Brien down for too long. And if there is one thing Aidan O'Brien and his team love to do, it is to dominate the classics. And the next set of classic races were upon us. The stage was Epsom Downs, a striking racecourse on the outskirts of London. Home of the Derby and the Oaks, the great mile-and-a-half tests for colts and fillies respectively, and a race played out in front of top hats and royalty. It was the fillies up first in the Oaks, and at the finish, Anna Perner for the team of John Golston and Frankie Dettori held the Aidan O'Brien trained pair of Pink Dogwood and Fleeting, resulting in a 5th win in the Oaks for Frankie Dettori. And just for context, his first win in the race came way back in 1994.
As they pan out down the home straight, Medaille further back, then Pink Dogwood coming on the wide outside inside the 3. Peachtree, Anna Perner getting up her inside as Lavender's Blue fades. Totiki, Maxad with a chance, and here's Pink Dogwood now charging down the centre of the course in the hands of Ryan Moore, and Pink Dogwood takes it up from Maxad and Anna Perner. Pink Dogwood out in front by a length to Anna Perner. Anna Perner is fighting back on the inside the final furlong. Pink Dogwood is joined by Anna Perner, who's running on very gamely for Frankie Dettori, and Anna Perner is beginning to get there. Anna Perner has won the Oaks.
But if Aidan O'Brien had to settle for the minor medals in the Oaks, the Derby was a totally different story. The race is regarded as the ultimate test of the thoroughbred, and in 2019 the Derby turned into an Aidan O'Brien benefit. He saddled 7 of the 13-strong field, and to justify the entries, saddled the 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th home. The powerful Anthony Van Dyke, ridden by Shamie Heffernan, staying on strongly for what is considered racing immortality.
On the descent now towards Tattenham Corner. They've got 5 furlongs left to cover, and Sovereign is out clear, chased by Norway in second place. Telecaster on the inside of Circus Maximus, then Line of Duty. Sir Dragonet is just in behind these, about 6 lengths off the pace as Broome now makes good progress on the wide outside. They're followed by Mad Moon. Behind those is Anthony Van Dyke. Line of Duty making ground in the all blue jacket. Bangkok further back down the home straight. Sovereign and Norway coming back to the field. Circus Maximus to Dragonet on the outside. Mad Moon is right there now inside the final 2 furlongs. Mad Moon and Sir Dragonet chased by Broome in 3rd, then Anthony Van Dyke down the outside. Japan is running on well. Mad Moon and Sir Dragonet fighting it out. Anthony Van Dyke on the far side inside the final furlong. Anthony Van Dyke, Sir Dragonet and Mad Moon racing up towards the line on the near side. Japan with Broome. Anthony Van Dyke has won it.
Later in the month, however, Anthony Van Dyke had to play second fiddle to his stablemate Sovereign, a huge priced outsider who made all of the running to win the Irish Derby. But even with the fancied runner defeated, it was still yet another classic for Aidan O'Brien and the team at Ballydoyle.
Then it's Sovereign by 2 lengths. Pushed along in second is Norway. Guaranteed a remote third. Then Anthony Van Dyke, who's being followed by Mad Moon. Then Broom, Rakan and Il Paradiso racing past the 2. And it is Sovereign and Porrig Beggy. And now 4 lengths in front. In second place is Norway, Anthony Van Dyke. Mad Moon, they're going to get after Sovereign, who is not stopping at the furlong pole. It's Sovereign and Porrig Beggy. Anthony Van Dyke has moved into second place, but it is Sovereign and Porrig Beggy as they run to the finish has won the Dubai Duty Free Irish Derby. It's a surprise. Anthony Van Dyke second, then Mad Moon.
As we reached the middle of the year, stories of the flat season were beginning to take shape. 23-year-old Oisin Murphy, whose career trajectory had been on a steep upward curve since his bursting onto the scene as a teenager way back in 2013, was battling with the northern-based Danny Tudhope, a hugely reliable and talented professional, for the title of champion flat jockey. While the evergreen Frankie Dettori, with a riding CV which many riders could barely dream of, had a June to remember, with 5 Group 1 wins in a month, 3 of which coming at Royal Ascot, a race meeting he has dominated for decades. But for Dettori, after a June to savour, the beginning of July got even better. The Coral Eclipse, run at Sandown in early July, saw the return of the peerless Enable, one of the most significant horses in the second half of the decade, and a mare who had taken Dettori, trainer John Galston and owner-breeder Prince Khalid Abdullah to the summit of world racing. Her winning run had dated back 2 years, stretching over 9 races, and at Sandown on that sunny Saturday, in a Group 1 over 10 furlongs, a distance short of her usual, she was foot perfect, defeating her race-fit old rival Magical.
Top of the home straight then in the Eclipse, and it's Hunting Horn who's still out in front. Enable poised there in second place. 2 lengths away then to Magical, who's now been shaken up by Ryan Moore. Zabil Prince is back in 4th. Then Regal Reality and Telecaster, followed by Mustachary, who's moving up. Yet to press the battle on Enable, who breezes up alongside Hunting Horn. Magical tries to go with her. Then Zabil Prince and Regal Reality, followed by Mustachary. Now Frankie says go on the filly Enable. She leads it by a length. Magical, though, is giving chase. Then Hunting Horn and Regal Reality inside the final furlong. It's Enable with the advantage. Magical is trying hard behind. Regal Reality staying on, but it's Enable under Frankie Dettori to win the Coral Eclipse. A brilliant mare, she's done it.
Enable's triumph came after 245 days off the track, and all roads would lead to the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe at Paris-Longchamp in October, a race she had won in each of the last 2 years. Summer was in full swing, and at Newmarket, the highlight of the annual July Festival was 10 Sovereigns, remember him from earlier, showing brilliant speed over 6 furlongs to win the July Cup under Ryan Moore. For that man again, Aidan O'Brien. But a week later for Aidan O'Brien, it was a sense of Epsom déjà vu. The racecourse was the Curragh, the race the Irish Oaks, and the fillies Pink Dogwood and Fleeting. The pair had been 2nd and 3rd behind the Frankie Dettori ridden, John Gosden trained Anna Perner in the Oaks at Epsom a month and a half previously. This time, that pair filled the same 2 spaces in behind the winner, albeit in reverse order, and again they were behind a filly ridden by Dettori and sent out by Gosden. Her name, Starcatcher. Dettori was inspired from the front, and the race confirmed Starcatcher's place at the top table of racing. She was to go on and win another 2 Group 1 races later in the season.
Starcatcher leads by less than a length to Peachtree, Manuela de Vega. Round them on the outside is Tratias, then Fleeting Search for a Song, Iridessa, and Pink Dogwood as they run the home turn. 3 to go, on straightening up at Starcatcher, winner of the Ribblesdale, straightens up a length or so in front of Peachtree, Tratias, Manuela de Vega just behind them. It's Fleeting with Pink Dogwood making ground in between horses, then Search for a Song, Iridessa is last with a furlong and a half to go, and Frankie kicks on Starcatcher, chased by Fleeting and Pink Dogwood inside the final furlong in the Kerrygold Irish Oaks. It's Starcatcher from Fleeting, closing with every stride as they run to the finish, but Starcatcher is another overseas winner of the Kerrygold Irish Oaks.
On the British racing scene, we love a summer festival. Epsom, Royal Ascot and the July meeting at Newmarket had passed by the time we got to the meeting known best as Glorious Goodwood. 5 days set in the beautiful Sussex countryside, Panama hat's a fixture of high fashion under the summer sun. But if the weather was anything but glorious on day one of the meeting, the racing certainly lived up to expectations. A 2-year-old star was emerging after Pinatubo, a horse named after a volcano, showed an explosive kick to blitz his rivals in the Vintage Stakes, while the magnificent stayer Stradivarius maintained his unbeaten record dating back over 2 years when winning the prestigious Goodwood Cup for the 3rd year in a row. The mighty stayer coming home in the hands of Frankie Dettori, whose own Summer of Love continued apace. A day later, same result. Dettori again. This time the speedy Too Darn Hot landed the Sussex Stakes. A horse with a big reputation very much clicking into top gear, but unfortunately, owing to injury, that victory proved to be the last of his career, his future belonging at stud. Harking back to Oisin Murphy on top of the jockeys table, his star rising all the time, and his victory on Deirdre in the Group 1 Nassau Stakes had a global effect. The 20-to-1 shot, trained in Japan but based in England for the summer, provided the Land of the Rising Sun with a rare winner on British shores, a first British Group 1 for a Japanese trained horse since Agnes World won at Newmarket at the turn of the millennium. After the race, Murphy was only too quick to point out the strength of the Japanese racing scene.
Yeah, I'm just glad they've brought a horse here and it's performed, because I've been saying since I've come back from Japan that how the regard I hold their horses in, and it's fantastic they've won a top level Group 1 here. She's already a Group 1 winner, but it's nice to do it in England, and I just can't tell you how pleased and thrilled I am for everyone connected.
The sprinting sensation that is Batash perhaps wasn't quite as blistering as he had shown in the past when winning the King George at Goodwood, but 3 weeks later in the Nunthorpe Stakes, one of the feature races at York's prestigious Ebor meeting, Batash was in a different league.
Batash on the far side in the raw blue, racing in touch, being followed by So Perfect with the white cap, then the grey Garrus on the extreme left, a Rumble in the Jungle. Mabs Cross in the red jacket has switched second from the right. Extreme right now is Fairyland, and they've gone past halfway, and Batash has swept to the front here, storms into the lead now, passing the 2. Soldier's Call is chasing, 10 Sovereigns out in the centre, purple jacket, 3 lengths to make up, down to the last furlong. Batash has cleared away, 3, 4 lengths ahead with a wind at his heels. Batash simply scorching the turf on the Knavesmire. It's going to be 3rd time lucky as Batash takes the Coolmore Nunthorpe in devastating style.
Elsewhere at York, Logician, a striking grey, proved an emerging force in the Great Voltigeur. A month later, he was to win the final classic of the season, the St Leger at Doncaster. Watch out for him on the flat in 2020. Japan defeated Crystal Ocean and Elacam in the hugely valuable Juddmonte International. The winner, a horse with a superb pedigree and looks to die for, had been beaten in the Derby, but proved most likely the best of Aidan O'Brien's 3-year-old colts. While the first £1 million Ebor handicap was won by trainer Ger Lyons and jockey Colin Keane, a potent force in Irish racing, landing the huge pot with Mustajeer. But we'll leave the final word from York's Ebor meeting with Enable. Her odds were prohibitive in the Yorkshire Oaks. She was no betting proposition, but the racecourse crowd wanted to see a star, and a star is exactly what they saw. Victory over her long-term rival Magical was predictable, but for many the expectation was that this would be the final time we would see the magnificent mare on a racecourse in Britain. Her path was plotted to a defence of her crown in the Arc in October, and then, most likely, an honourable retirement. But in sport, of course, there are no guarantees.
Straightening up for the judge here now, and it's Enable who leads them in here, going to the 4 furlong marker. Lati Dar in the pink jacket, within about a length. Frankie just looking between his legs there to see what the others are doing. Magical's getting into contention on the inside, but this powerfully built mare Enable striding on with purpose, and already Lati Dar is off the bit. Magical on the inside then is trying to get a little bit closer, but Frankie seems to have things well under control here, approaching the final 2 furlongs. Now he's asking Enable to engage top gear to see off her old rival Magical. Coming under a bit of a drive here, Enable, but she's responding as she always does inside the final furlong and a half. Enable holding Magical, who seems to have no more to give yet again, and once more Enable will see off Magical and gain her 10th Group 1. 13 out of 14. The Arc is next. Enable all the way winner of the Derby Yorkshire Oaks.
Summer was giving way to autumn. Over in Ireland, the two-day Irish Champions weekend took place midway through September. First staged in 2014, one day at Leopardstown, one day at the Curragh, and in truth, as new ventures go, an instant hit. On day one in 2019, Magical didn't have to worry about the threat of Enable, and she duly accounted for the rest of her opposition in the Irish Champion Stakes.
2.5 to go. Hunting Horn strongly pressed by Magical. Here she comes in between horses. Ellercam. Headman is on the outside of Mad Moon. Then Magic Wand, Anthony Van Dyke and Deirdre racing down to the final furlong. Magical has gone for home and the Quipco Irish champion. Chased by Magic Wand, Anthony Van Dyke. Headman next with Mad Moon. But it's Magical in front as they run to the finish. It's her stage, the Quipco Irish Champion Stakes.
Iridessa won the Matron Stakes, a Group 1 over a mile. A tremendous feat of training by Joseph O'Brien, and Iridessa, his stable star, went on to win at the Breeders' Cup meeting in America later in the year.
And it's Lawrence on the rail with a narrow advantage over Hermosa, pushed up on the outside to try and join issue. 2 lengths to Iridessa, then comes Skitter Scatter, Just Wonderful Happen and I Can Fly. Racing well up the straight with a furlong and a half to go. And Hermosa strikes the front. Heads last year's winner, Lawrence. Iridessa is getting into contention. Just Wonderful is on the outside. They're inside the last half furlong. And it's Iridessa and Wayne Lorden getting to Hermosa and Ryan Moore. Just Wonderful on the outside. Iridessa bounces back in the Matron.
And do keep an eye on the performance of Space Traveller, a British-trained winner on the day, ridden by leading Irish jockey Billy Lee, and it was a ride which was later in the year judged the best of 2019 at the prestigious HRI Awards.
They're past the halfway stage in the Clipper Logistics Boomerang Stakes as they turn back for home. Pincheck Shane Foley lead 1.5 lengths, with Matterhorn and Oisin Murphy making ground in between horses. On the outside is Turnberry Island, Shamey Heffernan. Lancaster House has dropped away. Picking up well on the outside is Space Traveller, racing down to the final furlong now, and it's Pincheck on the rail, the red cap. Pressed in the centre by Matterhorn. On the outside is Space Traveller, racing down towards the final 150 yards, and it is the visitors battling it out. Space Traveller gets up to win it.
If day one was good, roll on day two at the Curragh. Pinatubo was just brilliant once again. Another win, this time wiping the floor with his rivals in the prestigious Vincent O'Brien National Stakes.
On the outside, it's Minoski with Pinatubo coming there very, very strongly in between horses. On the far side is Arizona. Then comes Armory and Geometrical as they pass the 2. William Buick is swinging on Pinatubo and quickens to the front from Arizona. Minoski is on the outside of a running on Armory, but it's Pinatubo accelerating away in the Goffs Vincent O'Brien National Stakes. What a performance! 5 is the magic number this weekend as Pinatubo runs away with the Goffs Vincent O'Brien National Stakes.
But it was a day when any equine performance was to play second fiddle to a special exhibition of charity. Pat Smullen, the 9 times Irish champion jockey, was centre of attention, and rightly so. Smullen had retired after a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer back in March 2018. And in an attempt to raise funds and awareness of the disease, he assembled 9 of the finest retired jockeys that you could possibly find to ride together for one final time. Smullen himself was due to be one of the riders, but owing to a setback with his health, had to watch on. But for all in attendance, it was certainly worth braving the weather. Nostalgia flowed by the bucket load as Sir Anthony McCoy beat Ruby Walsh for one final time in a race. Smiles from the winning rider, but grins from those in behind. Most importantly, the event itself had soon after raised over €2 million for cancertrials.ie. A truly special day. Kicking off in late September, the Gold season at Newmarket is a sequence of high-class Saturdays for both the stars of today, but perhaps most significantly, the stars of tomorrow. On the final Saturday of the month, the Group 1 Cheveley Park Stakes for 2-year-old fillies was won by 16-to-1 shot Mill Isle to cap a superb summer for trainer Jessica Harrington. Harrington, known formerly as a jumps trainer, but now capable of domination under both codes. Legendary French trainer André Fabre sent over the unbeaten Earthlight to win the Middle Park. And with this horse, and of course the brilliant Pinatubo, owners Godolphin certainly began to flex their muscles. And on that afternoon, the feature race, the 30-horse cavalry charge known as the Cambridgeshire, well, it was made to look anything but competitive by a horse called Lord North, backed into favouritism and ridden with real confidence by, well, you guessed it, that man again, Frankie Dettori.
Lord North is making ground now under Frankie Dettori, blue and white jacket, but it's Beringer who's kicked away with just over a furlong left to go. Beringer and Torhammer Hansen by 3 or 4 lengths to Morden. Lord North is making great ground on the near side though, cutting the leader back. Lord North is Dettori and Gosden again in the Cambridgeshire, and Lord North wins it cosily.
Into October and back to Enable. Unbeaten in 2.5 years and on the cusp of history. No horse had won 3 renewals of the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, Europe's premier middle distance race. But sadly for many, it wasn't to be. Run down late by Voldgeist, one of the home-trained challengers. Retirement for Enable? Not a bit of it. There was delight around as news broke that she would race on into 2020 as a 6-year-old. A real rarity for a top-class flat horse these days. We'll get to see if she can win that 3rd arc after all. Back in Britain, as the flat season began to give way to the jumps, Newmarket staged their Future Champions weekend. Top-level glory going the way of Quadrilateral in quite dramatic circumstances. And a day later, Pinatubo made it 6 from 6 for the campaign when winning the prestigious Dewhurst Stakes. Perhaps not quite as blistering on his final start, but still firmly in control. And if those are to be the stars of tomorrow, Ascot celebrated the stars of the present on Kipco British Champions Day on October the 19th. It was a day to crown the finest of them all, both human and equine, and Starcatcher really was becoming just that with her performance in the champion fillies and mares. On the riding front, Oisin Murphy was a runaway winner of the Jockeys' Championship, and he has the world at his feet. King of Change proved himself a top-class miler in the Queen Elizabeth II Stakes, and the special Magical signed off for her racing career with a 4th Group 1 win in the Champion Stakes. She had had the misfortune of bumping into Enable on 4 occasions prior, and to credit the winner's constitution, her display at Ascot came just 13 days after finishing 5th behind Voldgeist in the Arc. But the finish of the day, though, was the first defeat in well over 2 years for Stradivarius, going down by the narrowest of margins to Kew Gardens. A finish which will live long in the memory, as will the flat season of 2019.
Coming there, Kew Gardens and the purple cap to take it up, and Frankie's getting to work on Stradivarius with 2 lengths to make up on Kew Gardens as they race on to the final furlong and a half. Kew Gardens, here comes Stradivarius, he's cutting him back. Stradivarius taking on Kew Gardens. They race as one now inside the final furlong. Stradivarius just with the edge. Kew Gardens will not lie down without a battle. Stradivarius and Kew Gardens fights back and may have won. Kew Gardens, Stradivarius in a tremendous battle.
Here is the outcome of the photo finish for first place. First, number 4, Kew Gardens.
And as the rains of autumn arrived, all eyes in Britain switched to the return of the jumps. But for many, the jumps racing isn't quite back in focus until the Charlie Hall Chase at Wetherby in October. Ballyoptic winning a gruelling renewal in very testing conditions.
And this is where guts and courage really come into play now. The final 2 furlongs definitely read an Elegant Escape. Elegant Escape is staying on at the second last. The first 2 are inseparable. ASO this side of Ballyoptic. Elegant Escape is getting closer to them all the time in the black and yellow colours. Ballyoptic fights his way to the lead, coming to the 17th and final fence. He's in close. ASO is second. Elegant Escape is still running on. 150 yards left to go. It's Ballyoptic showing in front by 3 lengths over Elegant Escape, and Ballyoptic staying on strongly towards the line to win the Bet365 Charlie Hall Chase for Sam and Nigel Twiston-Davis.
Horse racing has many great friends. One of its most famous, of course, is former Manchester United manager Sir Alex Ferguson. He was on track to see Give Me a Copper, a horse which he part owns, win Wincanton's Premier Chase, the Badger Beers Silver Trophy. But the rains continued to pour, and Cheltenham's 3-day November meeting was reduced to just 2 after the first day of the meeting was lost due to waterlogging. But that didn't dampen the spirits, and when the meeting eventually got going, Happy Diva was the pick of the Saturday action. Over in Ireland, Willie Mullins won the Grade 1 Morgiana Hurdle, but not with the one many expected. Classical Dream disappointing, but stablemate Saudier, off the track for a year beforehand, was ready and waiting, and took his chance.
Petit Mouchoir, followed by Classical Dream, Saldir and Sharjah. And then Yaha Fizz as they jump the second last flight. And a good run now to the last one in the straight in the Unibet Morgiana hurdle. Petit Mouchoir, but gone right up on the outside. Classical Dream now within half a length. 2 lengths back to Sharjah and Saldir as they run the home turn. 1 flight left to jump, Petit Mouchoir. On the outside is Classical Dream, who's tanking up one off the rail, then Saldir and Sharjah racing for the final flight in the Unibet Morgiana hurdle, and Classical Dream is just beginning to edge ahead. Saldir on the outside is throwing down a big challenge, and Saldir, is it Saldir that's going to upset the odds this year? Saldir and Danny Mullins have gone on from Petit Mouchoir. Classical Dream's lost his streak, and Saldir wins the Unibet Morgiana from Petit Mouchoir. Classical Dream third.
But while in late November there was a clash between the 2 highest rated chasers at Ascot, when Surname brought defeat upon Altior for the first time in 4.5 years, a new star was emerging up at Haydock, with Lost in Translation beating Bristol de May to win the Betfair Chase. For context, Bristol de May had never been beaten in 4 runs around his beloved Haydock.
The second last coming up, Bristol de May, Lost in Translation a half length down, parted the Birch, ridden for the first time. Bristol de May galloping on strongly on the near side. The final fence in the Betfair Chase coming up. Bristol de May and Lost in Translation could go either way. In the air together, come away from it together. Lost in Translation with momentum. Bristol de May fighting on tenaciously, but it's Lost in Translation in front, halfway up the run-in. Try as he might, Bristol de May can't get back to him. Super powered, Lost in Translation wins the Betfair Chase.
Jumping was rolling into top gear, and a week later, Dirasha Counter won the historic Ladbrokes Trophy at Newbury, the same weekend as Envoy Alain, one of the most exciting horses anywhere in jump racing, extended his unbeaten record at Fairyhouse. A thrilling renewal of the Tingle Creek Chase at Sandown got us into the Christmas spirit.
Is Underso and Defi de Soy. They race towards the final fence together in the air. Underso far side. Defi de Soy now hits the front, waiting patiently back in third, running on well up the hill. Defi de Soy. Underso is trying to fight back on the far side, waiting patiently, finishing well, but it's Defi de Soy who just wins the Tingle Creek. Underso carried out on his shield in second. What a run!
But by the festive period, all racing chat focused on the King George at Kempton. New sensation Surname and Lost in Translation up against Clan des Obeaux, stablemate of Surname and the winner of the King George in 2018. Paul Nicholls, trainer of Surname and Clan des Obeaux, was the leading trainer in the history of the race. And with Clan looking to win it again, history told us that through his previous winners of the King George, when Nicholls wins it, the same horse tends to win it at least twice. Cue the defence of the crown from Clan des Obeaux.
Clan des Obeaux cruising up under Sam Twiston-Davies. Here now is the second last. They're going to meet it together. Clan des Obeaux jumps into the lead from Surname, and Surname's emptying. Footpad back in third, and Clan des Obeaux, last year's winner, is now coming right away from stable companion Surname at the final fence, and a brilliant jump. Clan des Obeaux is 10-12 lengths clear of Surname, Footpad and then ASO, and it's a second King George for Clan des Obeaux under Sam Twiston-Davies, and number 11 for trainer Paul Nicholls.
As the year and also the decade began to fade away, how about this for a late shout for the best commentary? Irish caller Jerry Hannon's commentary at the Paddy Power Chase at Leopardstown on the 27th of December.
They're coming to the final fence, and it's Plan of Attack from Chef des Obeaux, Fitzhenry, and then comes Winter Escape. Robin de Furry is next, racing into the closing stages. Plan of Attack with Fitzhenry coming on the near side, and it's last year's third. Is he going to get his big break in the Penny Par? Here it's Roaring Bull! Roaring Bull has got up in the Penny Par! Roaring Bull has clenched it from Fitzhenry.
And if you want something to remind you of the longevity of some of National Hunt Racing's finest, former champion hurdler Fahim, a dominant horse at his best over the smaller obstacles and a champion in his day, but seemingly a horse in the twilight of his career, turning 12 at the beginning of 2020, winning a Grade 1 novice chase against horses half his age and then some, and to the sheer delight of those in attendances at Limerick and the doubtless thousands watching on at home.
They head towards the second last fence. It's Sam Crow on the stand side of Faheen at the second last. Faheen lands in the lead by half a length and goes on from Sam Crow. Heading down between the final two fences, it's Faheen who goes on by 3 to 4 lengths. Sam Crow has no more to offer at this stage in second. At the last, Faheen jumps it brilliantly. Sam Crow back in second. The old warrior still has plenty of life left in him yet, as Faheen strides up to the line to win the Grade 1 Matchbook Betting Exchange Novice Chase in style. Faheen the winner.
Thank you very much indeed for watching 2019 A Year in Review with Racing TV. And for more information to see what we'll be up to in the new year, get yourselves to racingtv.com. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again very soon.